we've got two guests in the studio this evening. Somebody that you are definitely familiar with. In fact, he was here previously on season 2, and he's back again, and with an additional guest who's new to us, and we're pretty excited to have her as well joining us. Our first guest is Mr. Katekani Mathye. He's assistant master at the office of the chief master, and it's a very good evening to you, Mr. Mathye.
Thank you very much, Karabo, and good evening to the listeners.
There we go. That's the voice of Mr. Mathye there, as well as Fridolin Strauss, Deputy Master at the Office of the Chief Master. Good evening to you, Ms. Strauss.
Good evening, sir, and good evening to our listeners.
So there you have it. Those are our two guests for this evening. What are we talking about? You're probably wondering. We're talking about the Guardians Fund. Remember, season 2, we spoke about this, and it had received a lot of reaction from the listeners, and we thought we're going to do this again, and here we are. We've scheduled to do this evening. What I'm interested in at the end of the show really is to see you being aware of the importance of the Guardians Fund. That's one thing that I would like to see at the end of the show. And maybe you and I should be educated when it comes to the administration of the Estate Act 1965. That's Act number 6, by the way, of 1965. And also the functions of the Guardians Fund. We're going to be looking deeply into that. And finally, we're going to be explaining a little bit more the processes on how to access funds administered through the Guardians Fund. All right. So as we go through the show, just take note of these as we go along. And we're still in Public Service Month, by the way. And tonight we're going to be continuing the focus on services that are offered by the Office of the Master of the High Court. And we'll be discussing, as I said, the Guardians Fund. So without wasting any further time, let's jump into it. The number to dial, it's 0800 142 446. That's 0800 142 446. That number is a toll-free number if you're going to be calling from a landline. Otherwise, if you're calling from a cell phone, I'll be very delighted that you do that. We're not going to be wasting your time. In about 30 seconds, we will have taken your number, your details, where you're calling from, and then we'll call you back. And that way, saving you costs. So 0800 142 446. Mr. Mathye, we're talking about the Guardians Fund, and some people are aware of it. But I figured a lot of people missed out on the opportunity to find out a little bit more about the Guardians Fund. Maybe just explain to us, when you're talking about the Guardians Fund, what is it exactly that we're talking about?
Thank you once more, Karabo, and for this wonderful opportunity to educate our people out there. What is a Guardian Fund? A Guardian Fund is a fund which falls under the administration of the Master of the High Court. It's the fund it's a fund which is created to hold and administer the funds which are paid into the master on behalf of various persons that can be known, unknown. For example, the minors, persons incapable of managing their own affairs, unborn heirs, missing or absent persons, or persons having an interest in the money as an usufructuary, fiduciary, or fideikommissary. Remember, each master has its own Guardian Fund. In a country, we have 6 of them. And in the Guardian Fund, it's a statutory trust which is created in terms of Chapter 5 of the Administration of Estate Act 66 of 1965. The master has a duty to control the finances which are deposited into the Guardian Fund, and this is as per Section 2, subsection 1 of the Act, and which with a delegated control by the minister, and according to the Act, it's administered by the master being the deputy master and the assistant master.
Right. So that's just briefly about the Guardians Fund, and I've noted one or two things that I would like to get back on. And I've just been alerted really by the producers on the other side that, hey, listen, we do have other 2 entry points that you can take part in this broadcast on. And I see the guys are ready to do that, to help us with that. And that's social media. Right. In fact, there's 3 social media points that you can get access to this show. You can go to Facebook. Right. On Facebook is the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development. That is on Facebook. On Twitter, it's at DOJCD_ZA. I'm going to try and make it an American sound and say ZA, but let me not go there. So that's at DOJCD_ZA. And on Instagram, it's at DOJCD. So those 3 entry points on social media. Otherwise, 0800 142 446, 0800 142 446. You can speak in any language of your choice. All right. If you want to ask any question in any language of your choice, you are more than welcome to do that. Mr. Mathye, you spoke about the fact that this is a fund, yes, and hence it's called the Guardians Fund. But one wonders, how is this fund put together? Who puts funds in this fund together, and how are contributions made to this fund? Or maybe let me just jump through to Ms. Strauss and bring her in. Pelaw and Akara, you've had your shine the last time. So let's give other children a chance to speak. Okay, so let's check with Ms. Strauss. Maybe you can explain to us, the fund itself and who contributes, how the contributions done there?
So usually we receive funds on behalf of people that cannot manage their own affairs, and minors, and unborn heirs, missing or absent persons, or persons having an interest on the monies, as Mr. Katekani indicated, usufructuary, fiduciary or fideicomissioner nature. So, and most of the case we receive also funds from the Government Employees Pension Fund on behalf of minor beneficiaries.
Mm-hmm. But what is the real purpose? Why are we having this fund? Can people do this themselves? And what is the main purpose of having the Guardians Fund, Mr. Mathye?
The main purpose of having the Guardians Fund is to protect those we call them the vulnerable, the minors. For example, I'll give you an example. If you, Karabo, as an employee of the government, if you happen to pass on and then you leave the children who are minors, remember they're minors, they cannot look after their own affairs. So therefore, their money in terms of the administration of Estate Act, it has to be deposited by the by the pension fund into the Guardians Fund, so that the Guardians Fund look after that money. Remember, when the money is there, it accumulates interest, and then it's regulated for the future, for the maintenance of those children. It can be for educational and other needs for those minors and people who are unable to manage their own affairs. It can be through the court order. If you go through the court order and the court declare that you are unable to manage your own affairs, then the money gets deposited into the Guardian Fund.
Is it only when you're a government employee? Because there's something that you've highlighted, giving you an example. You've mentioned if you're a government employee and you happen to, God forbid, pass away, and that those funds or your pension fund gets put into the Guardian Fund. But is it only applicable for government employees?
It's not necessarily applicable for the government employee. Remember, the funds to be deposited into the Guardian Fund is through processes. It can be through the court order, it can be through the regulations within the Act, or authorized by the law. For example, the GPF, they're authorized according to their Act there. You cannot just take any money from wherever and deposit into the Guardian Fund. Only specific people, as I've mentioned before, who can deposit money into the Guardians Fund.
0800 142 446, 0800 142 446, toll free number if you're going to be calling from a landline. I'd like to hear from you. There's so much to talk about, really. I mean, at this stage, I'm still seeing mist. I'm not yet clear, but we'll get into it slowly but surely, Mr. Mathye and Ms. Strauss. Please be patient with me. I take a very long time to grasp things. That's why my producers don't want to sit to this side of the microphone. They prefer sitting on the other side because they get tempted to use their hand, if you know what I mean. So let's not. So we'll get into it. But I want to find out really that it's very clear to me that government can do that via the GEPF, which is the pension fund, through the laws which governs that. All right. Yes. Let me stretch it and correct me if I'm wrong. I might ask you wrong questions, but please bear with me. Bear with me, Ms. Strauss, all right? So if it's a private entity, how do they go about doing that?
Okay. Let me give another example. Let's say now you have an investment policy with Sanlam, and then the beneficiary there is one of your child, and then it happens that when you die, that particular child is still a minor. That particular firm or Sanlam, they will have to deposit that money which belongs to the minor into the Guardians Fund. Remember, for the interest of that minor child,
Yeah.
the guardian fund's purpose is to protect the interest of the minors.
Okay, that's investment, right?
Yes.
Your example, if you have an investment,
Yes.
you gave an example with Sanlam. Sanlam, you're very lucky you're getting advertising for free. Yeah, I can tell you what. So that's when you have investment, okay?
Yes.
Say, for instance, I'm a private company or a private-owned business.
Yes.
Are there laws that will have to, are the laws governing me to do the same in case one of my employees has minors and they happen to pass away? As an owner of a private entity or a private business, will I have to do the same as well?
Yes, that also applies to you. I can stretch it further. Let's say, for example, a minor child is involved in an accident. You see, you claim through the accident fund.
Mhm.
When that money gets paid, remember, it's the money which belongs to the minor. It has to be paid into the guardian fund for the interest of that particular minor. So the guardian fund looks after that money for the interest of the child.
Okay. I'm happy because we've tackled both now. We've tackled the private and the government side of things, and I'm very happy because I want to. It's easier with the government side of things, all right? Because you know, GPF will take care of it and all sorts, but it gets very technical when it's in the private sector, and I'll tell you why a bit later on because I got a story to tell. But before we do that, let's go to the telephone lines, and I believe we are speaking to Tsepo. I beg your pardon, Tato. Tato's calling us from Klerksdorp. Good evening to you, Tato. First caller.
Dumelang ntate le
Re teng le kae ntate?
ntate ka re ke Tshepo mo Klerksdorp life.
Ke Tato, ne?
Tshepo
Tsepo.
Klerksdorp life.
I was actually very correct the first time. So Tsepo, good evening to you, sir. What is your question? Potso how ring?
Ntate potsa ga ke na ke potsa ga tele a ko ntse ke tele ka ta tlhose tele. Difference ya ene o ile ka jeng fa tele. See, ya di estate what I think is the ka di. Difference ya tele ke mo ntse ga go tele we really into ya ka jeng.
Or Willie le Guardians Fund. Okay, all right.
And then something ha di jena kwa ta go itse karabo ha re tsagala go e tlhoka fa ene le bene le maena o ne le tshele mo ntse mo o ne le tshele ka jeng go ka jeng fa go tsagala go o tlhoka fa le tshele e o itse go ya go fa ya go itse ya go ga and then ya go di ke go a go itse ya go na le tshele go di gala mo tsadi o na go be tshele go ga jeng fa o tlhoka go itse and then ha tsela le teng ona go gola o itse go itse ya go gona le tshele o na le
All right, 100%. That's very interesting. In fact, you've made my life simple because that's where I was getting with my questions here. All right, thank you so much. Tsepo, beg your pardon. Tsepo calling us all the way from Klerksdorp. I really appreciate it. 0800 142 446. That's 0800 142 446. O ka letša ka nomoro ya gago ya ka mo ntlong ga ile gore letša ka ona e tlabe le mphiwa fela ga ile gore o letša ka sellathekeng sa gago o ka letša tla go founela ka mamorago gore ro savele tšhelete ya gago ngasha luqingo nawe mafuna ukhuluma nathi le number le is for free. What is for free in Zulu? The Zulu flew away. I saw it going past, like, I promise you. There we go. 0800 142 446. That's 0800 142 446. Ms. Strauss, here are the questions. 3 questions really from Tsepo in Klerksdorp, right? He wants to find out what is the relationship between the Guardian Fund. In fact, he said, what is the difference between the Guardian's Fund and a will? And I'm sensing there's actually a relationship necessarily, but you can elaborate on that. So that's the first question, all right? Differences between a Guardian's Fund and a will. And he's asking a very technical question. He says, what if a minor passes away and he has funds in the Guardian's Fund? You can tackle that as well. We'll talk about that. And finally, of course, he wants to find out, okay, how do you know there's money for you in the Guardian's Fund? Say I'm a minor, for instance, and somebody, maybe a parent passes on, and there's money in the how do I go find out? How do I access it? All right? So note those questions. We'll go back to them. I just want to take a last caller quickly here. And this is Panka from Val Community Radio. Good evening to you, Panka. Panka, thank you so much for calling in. I did promise Panka, by the way, Panka, we lost him. I did promise Panka that I'm going to say hi to him this evening. He's been calling me the whole afternoon today, trying to make sure the show is going ahead. So thank you so much. Panka, you guys are doing an absolutely amazing job. We really appreciate it, you guys at Val Community Radio. So we're going to try to get a hold of you back again, or if you can call us back, we'd really, really appreciate it. Let's tackle those questions quickly while we're waiting for Panka and all the other listeners to call in 0800 142 446. Ms. Ross, you want to tackle the first one?
Yes, the difference between the Guardians Fund or where the Guardians Fund come into play with the will. If you have a will, you determine your beneficiaries. So if you died intestate, there is a possibility if you have children and it is minor children that you have, then the funds will be deposited in the Guardians Fund to safeguard.
Maybe before before you go on, when terms come up, I always want to explain those for the benefit of those who don't know. You're saying when you die interstate. You just want to elaborate what that is?
When you die intestate, it means when you die without a will. And this week it is also the Wills Week, where we make people aware for them to draft their wills, and so that they can determine who their beneficiaries are. Mm-hmm. So if you do not if you do not have a will, then you will die intestate, and the minors' funds will be then secured in the Guardians Fund. The funds will generate interest. It will generate compound interest. At this stage, it is 8.5% compound interest. And the funds will then be available for this child when the child turns 18. In the meanwhile, when the funds are in the Guardians Fund, they can claim for maintenance, to pay school fees and all those expenses of the child from the Guardians Fund. That is the benefit, and when the funds is claimable, the minor beneficiary that turns a major now at the age of 18 can claim his part of the funds, that the balance of the funds that is available. The funds is accessible for the guardian or the person that look after the minor, and they can come to the Guardians Fund. We have service points all around the country where they can complete their forms, the application forms. It's a J341 application form, together with all the quotations and vouchers that they need, and then from there we can pay the school fees, and we can then assist the minor through releasing the funds to the guardian. Then, the next question.
I think they're accessing it. I think you've touched on it a bit with that form that you spoke about. But is that the only way that one can go and access these funds, or is there another way?
The only way is for them the guardian to complete the forms and submit the quotations, then together with the necessary requirements. We have all those requirements, and we always make them aware that our services are free of charge. And when the child is 18, they will we will advertise it. If they are not aware of the funds in the Guardians Fund, we advertise it on an annual basis for 3 years after it is claimable in the government gazette.
Right. 0800 142 446, 0800 142 446. Partco calling from LUL North. Good evening to you, Partco man. Partco LUL North. On Partco from LUL North. Yeah, good evening, Partco.
Yeah, good evening, my chief. All the friends on Greenfield, yes, my brother. I think there's two questions.
Shapantati. Shapakamko wena utlwa ngati, yes.
All right, no. Ke tla botsa ka go.
Yeah.
Ke go ya se tshwene. Re bua dipuo tsena kaofela.
Yeah, of course.
Ke batla go tseba butla motho a o etetseng the person that has visited you to the student has mentioned that the minor at the age of 18 supposed to be taking that money. No one will be no one will take over into that money. And then he mentioned also, if that minor passes away, where does the money go? That's my first question. and then how they are going to make sure that the money from the guardian fund goes to the right person. If ever the father or the mother has passed away, because they are extended families on the other side. When they are extended families, those families, they're going to know this one is a minor, and then I'm the one who's older, who's going to sign for that money. And then how going to make how they are going to make sure that there will be no corruption when it comes to that money of the guardian fund. Thank you very much. I'll listen to the Takalani Community Radio.
Thank you so much, Patko. Thank you so much, listeners of Takalani Community Radio, for taking part in this broadcast. We really appreciate it. I know you might be having the question relating to any language o batlang ho bua ka yona 0800 142 446 0800 142 446. There's Patko wanting to find out, should it happen that a minor passes away, the minor who's got the money secured in the guardian's fund, right, and they pass away, what happens to that money that was, I want to say, allocated to them? That's the first word that came to my mind, really. But that money for them that's in the guardian's fund, where then does it go? Because it was for them, now they've passed on.
Thank you, Karabo. This question is related to the one which the other Tepo asked. Let me just first, we without wasting time, clarify the issue first of the estate. When somebody dies, as we have said before, you gave an example that what happens if you die, where does your money go? When you die, whatever you owned, we call it an estate, and that gets distributed. If you died without a will, as she said, you die intestate, then whatever you own gets distributed to all your beneficiaries. Beneficiaries and dependent, it can be your children, your wife, normally it's your surviving spouse if you are married, and your children. Then that money gets distributed amongst them in terms of the intestate. If amongst those children they are minors, their portion gets deposited into the guardian's fund, in the name of that particular minor. Therefore, if that minor dies, that money which is in the guardian fund goes into that particular minor's estate. Then it gets distributed into the dependent of that particular minor. And you will ask, who will be the dependent of the minor?
I was just about to say, hey, what are we saying? Okay.
Yes, the dependent of the minor, then it can be the parents. If one of the parents still alive, then she can go and claim that money.
All right.
From the guardian fund, which money belong to the minor.
Okay, Arere, because I presume what Patko wants to get at here, key issue, let's say, hey, that minor passes on and there's no one else. Where does it go?
It doesn't happen like that. It can be no one else. It's like when you die, we do it in terms of the intestate. You see, when you die, you report the estate. The person who report the estate, we call him the executor. The executor. The executor will have to establish who are the dependent of this particular minor. If there are no parents, in terms of the intestate succession, they can be grandparents. They can be either from both sides. If it doesn't have from the mother side, they can be the parent from the father side. If not, then it goes into the uncles. It goes 3 generations up. Then in no ways that they can't be anyone.
Well, if you put it like that, then it's fine. Then I can agree. If you're saying it goes 3 generations up, then I'm comfortable. Because I was going to ask you, but what if this person is alone and we can't trace anyone? Okay, maybe let me just for the fun of it, really, let me just put you in a corner and see how you come out of it. What is Mr. Fati?
Try me.
Let me try. So what if, hey, there's no one at all, no generation, nothing? Huh?
It can be.
He's gonna go back to his
It can be. It can be. Karabo, it works.
Somebody is there. Malome, uncle, Rakad, whoever. Somebody needs to be.
It can be. You see, if this is the father who dies, and then they had a child, here's the child, and then the mother also is not there. This mother had parents, mother and father there. And then within this, there can be a brother to this child's mother who is there. Or this brother to the child's mother had a child here. So who can claim the benefit of this child which is at the guardian's fund? So it can be.
All right. what was going on in the studio is that Mr. Mathye was drawing a diagram here, and I would like you to go check it out. You can check it out on Instagram. I'm going to have one of the guys, one of the social media producers, to quickly jump into the studio quickly and take a photo of that graph. Because that graph, like now I wanted to put him in a corner, but he put me in the corner now. Because looking at that graph, now I can understand what exactly he's talking about and how it looks, how it really looks in terms of, I want to call it a family tree if you wanna. If you know how a family tree looks like, you will then understand, Jorge, my question really is out of line. There can just not be no one. So we're going to take a quick photo of that diagram that he's put together, and you can check it out on Instagram at DOJCD, on Twitter as well at DOJCD_ZA. Are we going to post it on Facebook as well? Is that what we're going to do here? We're going to post it on Facebook, the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development. Let's take Martha from Bloemfontein. Martha, good evening to you.
Hello.
How's Martha doing?
Dumela ntate le kae?
Re tele kae mme wa ka?
A monate ke Martha mo Bloemfontein ne. Ke kopa o botsa ke na le bothata. Ke kopa botsana batho ba berekang ko Transnet ba fola under government.
Batho ba berekang ko kae?
Ko Transnet.
Ko Transnet, okay. Okay.
Ba fola under government na.
Okay, we'll find out. Yeah, we'll find out. Ke yona fela putsana le yona?
If ba fola under government ne, nna ke na le ngwana ne o 11 years old ne. So ha na le 5 years kana ka isa the father for maintenance ne. Apparently the father that time was not working ne. And then are o direla a le ke papage ne. Then if so ha direla ke papage yalo ba batla di particulars tsa grandfather ya ngwanane. So for 3 years, the grandfather ananta support ngwana 200. Ne? Then after 3 years, kaya go maintenance gape ka lo tlhatlosa tšhelete ya maintenance. Grandfather a tsenya 100 rand ya na 300. So this year grandfather o tlhokahetse. Ne?
Okay.
Ke kreya 300 rand. So ne ke batla go itse fana what is happening then, because ngwana o thutsitse koloi no this year ka May. Grandfather tlhokahetse ka February, ngwana ka May a thula ke koloi.
So the Transnet issue, it's an young mom, Martha. Key issue was the grandfather working for Transnet, or was it the father?
The grandfather.
The grandfather was okay. Now I can see the link. Okay, so basically, what you want to do, you want to find out if Transnet is part of the government, and if it is, how you can go about claiming some form of support and maintenance from them.
Yes,
100%. Thank you so much for calling in, Martha. We'll definitely tackle that.
Thank you.
All right, let's speak to Panka. Panka, I was scared you were gone, my man. I was very excited. Now I see you back. Good evening to you, Panka.
Hey, how are you, my chief?
Sharp, my chief.
I'm together, man.
Hey, Tada. Thank you so much for calling in. What is your question?
No, man, let me first greet our guest there, Mr. Mathye, and then the lovely Deputy Master, Ms. Strauss. Yes, and the first question would be that, Karabo, what is the position in respect of the payment of interest? What would be the position in respect of that? And then the second question is that, you know what, when can an account holder claim the invested money, and how can one claim for that?
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Panka. All right. If anything comes up, Panka, you're more than welcome to call in. Even your listeners can call in, eh?
Yes, no, I'm still listening, and then I was just to know, because this one, in terms of the position in respect of payment, it was started somewhere the 1st of April 2006. There is some percentages out of there. It is for the interest of their listeners.
All right. 100%. Thank you so much, my brother.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, my boss.
0800, that's Panka from Val Community Radio. 0800 142 446. 0800 142 446. All right, we've got Martha and Panka, but before we go to Martha's question, I think there's one more question that's outstanding in Patko. Patko, I haven't forgotten about it. Is the issue of it? How, with regards to these payments as they're made, how are we making sure the monies are going to the right people? And I could hear that Patko is, withholding a little bit. He doesn't want to, but eventually he opened up and say, how exactly are we going to make sure that there is no corruption when it comes to this? You find that people are claiming the money and it's actually not within their rights or within they shouldn't be anywhere near that money. How are we going to make sure of that?
Karabo, we have very, very sophisticated means of clarifying and verifying our beneficiaries. If we have information that Karabo land, who's 12 years old, the money has been deposited there, and Karabo now is 18 years old, he need to come and claim money there. How do we verify that, this person we are about to pay is really Karabo, who the money belong to? We are using these things, what we call biometric, we call it Move It, it's linked with Home Affairs. When you go in there, we put your fingers in there to verify that indeed it's you. Request the copy of your ID card or the smart card. Then we verify you. The Home Affairs will give us the picture of you and all the information about you. In that way, we verify that this particular person, it's indeed the particular person you are paying in. Remember, when that money gets deposited in there, they also attach things like the birth certificate of you, or an ID copy of you if you had an ID at that particular time. Then with those documents, we are able to verify you through our biometric link to the Home Affairs.
That's awesome. I'm very delighted to hear that. All right, Martha wants to find out, is Transnet, let me put it this way, Transnet employees, would they benefit in the Guardians Fund?
Transnet, every pension fund deals with their own funds in their own ways. So if the funds are with Transnet, Martha can approach a Transnet pension fund and establish from them if there are any funds available for from the grandfather or the father for the minor child. If they made deposits into the Guardians Fund, they will advise her accordingly, and then she can approach the Guardians Fund to release the funds for the minor child. But first, you have to start from the pension fund.
Of that particular organization.
Yes.
All right. But do we have any cases where, Transnet has deposited money in there just for interest sake? Or is it something that one can just go find out with Transnet?
We do have companies, like I'm not advertising them, companies like Telkom. If there are minors there, like it happens, let's say it happens like with government employees. When you get employed there, they give you an opportunity where you nominate your beneficiaries. So even in those companies, if you have nominated beneficiaries and at the time of your demise, they're still minors, they will deposit that money into the Guardians Fund, depending on their policies, on how they administer their pension fund.
All right. Martha, I think the best thing for you to go do is to find out with Transnet if the grandfather really, or find out with Transnet what their policies are when it comes to their pension fund, and they will show you they're in the right direction. If they've deposited money into the Guardians Fund, they will definitely tell you that as well. So all the best to you, Martha. And I think we've got two other questions from... We've got one from Panka, two from Panka. But before I do that, let me take Lesejo, because Lesejo has been holding on for a bit of a while here. Lesejo from Klerksdorp. Good evening to you, Lesejo.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, and yourself?
No, I'm good. I have a question here. I know what's happening. We have. I'm having a minor child, and it's so my uncle passed away a few years ago. So what happened is there was somebody who was appointed to take care of the estate, to the family. But now I'm faced with a situation whereby the house belonging to my uncle. It's about to be repossessed because there's nothing that is happening with the estate. No money was claimed, though my uncle had the insurance and so forth. So I wanted to check, how do we handle that situation whereby the house that belongs to a minor is about to be repossessed by the bank, and until now it's been more than 7 years since my uncle had passed on. There's nothing that is happening with his estate.
All right.
He can't touch anything or do anything. And he used to be a teacher. He worked for a very long time. So even now, how do we handle that situation?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Listen, you mentioning something very important here, and you're saying that the house belongs to the minor, Was that expressed in the will, or how do you know the child belongs to the minor? Let's start there.
Unfortunately, in this situation, my uncle didn't have a will. It's just a thing out of my uncle, and the house obviously is theirs. So how are we going to handle the bank not repossessing the house? The money is there, but it just cannot be released from that particular estate. It's just I don't know how to handle it.
But do you know why? Do you know why it's not released? Is there any reason you got given or why those monies are still there and no one can access them?
The family appointed somebody who is responsible for that estate. So the lawyer that they've been working with, they've been taking him from pillar to post for the past 7 years. There's not even one insurance that has ever paid. And like you're saying, if a person has a house, maybe there's a life cover that can be able to pay for the minor house, but there's nothing that is happening. And the bank is now about to repossess the house. How do we handle such a situation?
But the person who was appointed, they are trying though. They are trying to access those funds.
They are trying. But so far nothing has happened for the past 7 years.
Okay, just hold on for me. Just hold your line there, Lesego, Mr. Mathye.
Thank you.
Mr. Ross, you're more than welcome to jump in, really.
Yes, a problem, it's very common. What's happening here, it's an estate which has not been wound up. Firstly, the executor who has been appointed to administer this estate, because he has that intestate, there was no will. The executor must wind up the estate. Winding up the estate, it's accumulating all the assets, which not accumulating the proper weight, English.
Reconciling all the...
all the assets which belong to the deceased and then distribute them. It's like in this instance, this executor is failing to do that, and then now the property now is falling into areas.
But it looks like the executor is trying. There's something happening because she's saying they're sending them from pillar to post. The executor is being sent from pillar to post. So he's really trying to access the funds. Am I right, Lesego?
Yes, he's trying. He's been trying for the past 7 years to access the funds, and nothing has been happening. There's not even a cent that I think they got for the minor.
Okay, just is he getting reasons why he's not winning? Are they telling him is there anything that you can give us so that we can understand? Because eventually what we're going to do, let's say, I'm going to try to get the guys to call you back. But before I release you on the line, because I see there's other callers that are waiting by. But let me just get this finally before I release you. Is he coming back with feedback why he's been sent from pillar to post? Are they telling him something that you can give us that we can work on?
Can I request you to call me back?
I think that's the best thing to do.
Yeah.
We'll definitely give you a call back.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, 100%. Lesego from Texop. Thank you so much for calling in.
Goodbye.
Yeah, thank you so much, Lesego. I think let's do that. I think let's call her after the show and get to find out exactly why, because it's quite a tricky one, this one here. Let's go to East London, where I was yesterday. My goodness. Begubanda. It was so cold, it was not funny there. Aleta? Good evening to you, Aleta. Aleta from East London. I think Aleta's frozen there. 0800 142 446. We'll try to get Aleta back there. I'm not surprised why Aleta's not responding. All right, Mr. Mathye is just showing me something. Would you like to tackle that quickly, Mr. Mathye?
The Panga issue.
Yes.
Yes, the Panga raised the two questions, the issue of interest and the payment thereof. Remember, the money which is deposited into the guardian fund are in two phases. There are money, those which accumulate interest, more especially the monies which belong to the minor. They accumulate interest, which interests are determined by the minister from time to time, and the money which does not accumulate interest. Therefore, the money which has accumulated interest, in terms of the Act, we are supposed to pay all the accumulated interest and equivalents of 250,000 for the lifetime of that money which is in the guardian's fund. The interest we paid up, but the maximum of the capital, it has to be 250,000. But when you turned 18, we paid together the interest accumulated with the capital once off to the claimant or the minor who has turned measure. Then he asked another question as, how can the account holder claim the money and how? The account holder, if the money belongs to the minor, there should be a tutor or a guardian who is looking after that particular minor who can claim annually for the maintenance of that particular minor. There are forms which you go to either the magistrate or to the master's office nearest you. you complete those forms if the child is still a minor. Therefore, you attach the vouchers, educational, any other needs for the child, can be maintenance or any other need for the child to claim that particular money. Remember, first you must be identified as a curator or the guardian of that particular minor. Therefore, when the minor has turned 18, now has become major, it can be through court order, through marriage. Then that particular child account holder can come and claim to the guardian fund in person. Then in person, you must bring your ID copy and the proof of payment. Therefore, in that instances, we pay the whole lump sum.
That's when the minor has turned into
the major.
All right. As you know me, I like doing this, Masakara. I like making complicating issues.
Yes,
no, I'm just joking. No, I'm just joking, really. But I want to find out, what if the minor is so informed and they're listening to this show right now and they're still a minor and they say, hey, listen, I know for a fact that there's money for me in the Guardian's Fund, but I'm not benefiting anything from it. I'm not getting help with my education, nothing. What can they do?
They can approach us because it happened in most instances. You find that those people who are appointed to look after them, they are not doing their job. They are not really taking care of that particular minor. The minor can come and inform us that, look here, this guardian is not taking care of me, and then I've got needs for schooling and other things. We are so flexible. We can even pay direct into the service providers. If it's for the school fees, we can pay direct to the school, for the varsity, direct to varsity. If it's clothing, we can pay direct to her or to the service provider, as I have said, to cover her needs.
It's not like Bata Sokola.
No,
Hey,
they can't.
It's not like Bata Sokola. Miss Strauss is
No,
I did that intentionally, but I knew you would understand what. 0800 142 446 0800 142 446. My guests in the studio, very delighted to have them. We're having a nice, very nice conversation here. That's Mr. Katekani Mathye. He's an assistant master at the office of the chief master, together with Fridolin Strauss, deputy master at the office of the chief master. Those are my two guests for this evening. All right, let's take a caller before we go to Facebook, because this caller has been waiting for a bit. What happened to Aleta? Is she back? Aleta's not there, right? They're telling me Aleta's not there. But we've got Danny listening via Lekwa Community Radio. And you should hear my supervisor trying to pronounce Lekwa. I mean, we fall down laughing. I don't know where he gets that. Don't ask me. But he says Lekwa FM. I don't know what that's all about. All right, let's hear it. Danny. Lekua FM. There we go. Thanks, Bro Denny, for calling in. What is your question?
Bana be sututa ntso bua mona ka tšhelete na gore ke ya bana ba sa ba nyane dimo ke tseba gore na motho a qeta so ka re tshwantse le ditse tsena ka ofela na Guardian's Fund ha motho a qeta so ka o tshwanela gore o lo e applyela o etse bonnete ba gore o na le dipampiri tse ba tswang di ka ofela kapa e tla e tlisa automatically ya motho a qeta so ka na.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Happen me abua ka taba ya interest le ntswala mo a bolela hore e kenya interest. Na ho bolela hore tswala e ya teng ke tla nne ke bona kgodi le kgodi hore ke ene ke bokae bo ntho tse di dijwa. Do hona hore na tšhelete ya fela ka pa e felo ba ne kenya interest.
All right. Ke tsona fela ntate Denny.
Ke tsona fela Mr.
Ngeke go bolelle fela gore ke thabela gore le lona le nkile nako ya gore le re founele. I've never had a caller from Lekwa. I know that your listeners ba mamela di show tsa rona, but to have you guys calling in, we really appreciate it, and keep up the good work. We've been working with you for a bit of a while now, and I just want to say on behalf of the radio unit that you guys are doing an absolutely amazing job. Thank you so much. I'll go ahead. Kintate Deni, or let's add if I beg your pardon, no, just there you go. 8 minutes before 7 o'clock. Okay, those are the two questions. We'll get back to them. You've noted them, Dada Martine. All right, we'll go back to them. Here's a Facebook message. All right, what does a guardian need to claim from the fund? This is Tumelo Mbele. I'm not sure if I'm capturing it correctly. Is that how it is? What does a guardian need to claim from the fund? Money. That's it. They need to claim money. Or maybe Gianda said, okay, we'll give it to, but not that's how I understood it, but we'll give it to we'll give it to our guests in the studio. Aleta is back. Right, let's take Aleta quickly before we go back to the questions. Aleta,
Yes.
are you frozen?
No, I don't know. I don't know what the story is.
It was freezing cold in East London. I was there yesterday.
Yes.
Yeah.
I tell you what it is. I was fostered by foster parents in East London from an orphanage. And when I went up to Durban to go and visit the foster father when he was very sick in Durban. And he's got 2 daughters of their own. And then he said to me, Aleta, when you turn 60 years old, don't worry, there is plenty of money for you to retire when you turn 60, which I didn't worry about really. So, of course, when I came back that afternoon, he passed on. Then the daughter phoned me and said to me, please, there is money for you. Do you want the will? And I didn't know what she was talking about because I was so upset. But now how do I get this will and the money?
All right. Okay, did you capture it? My guests have captured that. Later we're going to go back to that. All right. If we don't come right, we'll give you a call back. But I think we've captured it. Thank you so much for calling in.
Okay, thanks very much.
All right, there we go. All right, let's go to... Are we starting with Lesego? Lesego wants to find out a minor child. It was an uncle's child. Okay, I think Rita will phone Lesego back, right? I think we're going to phone Lesego back. All right. Danny from Legua. It's back to the intro that we've done. He missed out, I think, on it. Would you like to explain to him his first question there? Danny, I wrote here, back to the intro, meaning his question is linked to what we've explained at first then.
Okay, let me try to help him in clarifying it, because he wants to know that when somebody passed on, does the guardian funds go into that particular person and what happened? When you die, remember, Danny, there's somebody who must be appointed to represent your estate, and we call that particular person an executor. The executor, therefore, he gathers all your assets and distributes them to your beneficiaries. If amongst those beneficiaries there is a minor or minors, then that particular executor, in terms of the law, he is bound to deposit that money into the guardian's fund. Right? That's where the guardian fund comes into picture. To take care of that money which belongs to the minors, which the executor, in terms of the law, is bound to deposit there. Then you ask about the issue of interest. The interest gets accumulated on the money deposited into the guardian's fund. Yes, they do get finished. If that money, the capital, gets exhausted, we will never accumulate interest because there will be nothing to accumulate interest on.
All right, but also I think what we need to tell Danny is something very important that you've explained earlier on. There's 2 parts to the capital. There's one that accumulates and then there's one that doesn't accumulate. Would you like to elaborate on that?
Yes. The one which doesn't accumulate normally is for the major person. Let's say, for example, you have children whom are measured above 18. When they distribute the estate, they can't trace them and they deposit into the guardian fund. Because they are measured, their money remains the same. It does not accumulate interest. Remember, guardian's fund, it's for those who are vulnerable and for the minors. Then for the measure, it doesn't accumulate interest.
100%. 0800 142 446, 0800 142 446. 9 minutes to go. Let's make use of it. I'm going to take Masilo from Potchefstroom and then we're going to come back to our latest question. All right, Masilo, Potchefstroom. Masilo.
Hello.
Masilo.
Hello.
Hi.
Masilo,
I beg your pardon. Pela Masilo, motho a ngwala mona, a ngwala dikola tse di tsena mona, o tlhaore KwaZulu Natal, by the way. So how re Masilo yena o utlwa Masilo? Masilo?
ke Masilo Potchefstroom from Magalanyese.
A utlwe he mme wa ka, potso ha o e reng?
Potso ya ka ntate ke kopa ho tseba ne, ke sa tsebe hore ke utlwile hantle na. E mabapi le ngwana. Ke ngwana wa maloma mme wa ka, ne? Ngwanona o entse 18 ka 2013. Ne? Ta kutlo bohloko o la ba le bohwele mmeleng, ne? Ntate a hlokafetse ka 2001, mme a hlokafala ka 2007. And then dilemo tse kaofela a ntse dula le mamoholo wa hae, ausi wa mme wa hae. Dilemong tsenana ka kgwedi ya November yana re siile. Ho re sieng ha hae dilemo tsenana kaofela ha so ka a thola dithuko ko hlaheng guardian funding ya ntate wa hae mosebetsing. ha re ya agente ne ntse thusa mamolo wa hae re mo jetsa ngwana ona jwale ke o sa re si agente e re abuti wa hae ne ke abuti ngwana ntate abuti a bule file e ntjha e ke go bone nna ka tsebo ke na le bona wa tseba ke ga ke gone o tlisitse ka bana ngwana nana ka khale a ntse 18 ka mme tshaka e be 18 a re loko fa thuso legal aid ha re fitla legal aid ya re jetse gore re kopane le ba government pension ka Pitori re ba founile re ba bone o re tsalang ka tshetse ya ngwana ka bana ho yeng ka tsebo ya bona tshetse ngwana nana tsamile be se le gale itse o ka ba le kgonagalo ya gore mwelu o na ntse tshwere case ya ngwana o ntsa thola inamane ka tshetse inana ya ngwana na.
Yes. All right, I was scared you're going to go there, Marcelo, because Linda, for some reason, I don't know why, but I was scared you're going to go there. I'll tell you what, because it's taken that turn, okay, because it might have legal implications the way we follow Sankati. So we can speak to you about it off air. Is that all right?
Okay.
All right, let's just make a note. We're going to give Marcelo a call back as well. We're going to chat to her off air. I've just been handed over a big, a big computer, a big laptop. Apparently, it's got a message that I need to read. Okay, this one is coming from Facebook. Thank you so much, Matro Setati, commenting on Facebook. We really appreciate it. And Matro says, "Good evening, Karab and the guest in the studio. This is Matro from Teflo. Please forward these questions to the guest. What happens if the money gets exhausted before the child reaches 18 years old?" That's the first one. You're going to take that, Ms. Strauss. Let's note that, and then you can take that, right? And then the second one, does the money cover the child's demands, even money for bail if arrested? If they are getting arrested. In other words, any restrictions stipulated on accessing that money? It's number 2. And the final one, is it possible to make claim for lump sum? All right, those are the 2 questions. We'll go back to them. Thank you so much. Hey, my social media producers are hands-on today. These are Giama. Laptops in the studio. You should see this on YouTube. We're gonna post it on YouTube, by the way, and you should see what happens in the studio. It's really hectic. All right, let's go back to those questions. Let's start. Marcelo, we're gonna call back. All right, we've answered a letter. We haven't answered a letter. Would you like to deal with that, Strauss? You'll deal with the other ones that Marcelo has asked. But let's touch quickly on Aleta's one. It sounds like Aleta's asking a very simple question, though. Aleta wants to find out how can she access the estate.
Okay.
That's it.
Aleta, this depends on where you are. Because remember, when reporting to the estate, you've got master's office in various provinces. If where you are, go to the nearest master's office and check if the estate has been reported. Because that's where the original will would have been filed. If in that particular will you have been mentioned as the beneficiary, therefore your money will be paid by the executor direct into you after the estate has been reported and the executor has been appointed. Remember, the duty of the executor is to distribute the estate as per will. As you said, there is a will in this particular matter. Approach your nearest master's office where you are in your province. Then you tell them that this particular person has passed away, and then they will give you information on that.
All right, cool. Just one quickly. The executor can be anyone, and who appoints them?
The executor normally get appointed in terms of the will. When you die when you draft your will, you get that opportunity to appoint that Katekani Mathye can be the executor, will be the executor of my estate. If not, then the surviving spouse, if it's there, get first preference. If no surviving spouse, then the children. If no children, then the parents of the deceased.
So the children, would there be the children by their ages, the senior one, or if it's not indicated in the will?
In the will.
If it's not indicated in the will, I hear you saying the hierarchy would be then the spouse, right?
Spouse.
If they're not there, the children. But
the
now,
children.
In the children, let's say by 3 or 4, which one of them?
They can nominate one of them or both of them if they don't trust each other. We appoint both of them. Or they can have an option of nominating an attorney who will be executor, or a trust company who will be the executor, and will require that particular person to furnish that bond of security to make sure that that particular person is not going to squander the estate of the children.
Yeah, watch it. I mean, once it goes outside the house,
Then
then
we
you're
need
looking
all
at
of
financial implications. Now you're going to start paying people to do that. So rather trust each other and deal with it. Come on, go. You know. Okay. Kolile is our last caller. Kolile, can I put? Let me take her quickly. Let me take Kolile quickly, and then we wrap up the callers. Then we'll answer the questions and we wrap up. All right, Kolile.
Yes, sir. How are you?
I'm fine, and you, sir?
I can't complain, sir.
Mm-hmm. Your question?
Well, although you did ask the question that I want to ask, I'm going to just try to cut a long story short. And I was married to the lady, then we divorced. The lady just passed away. We had 2 children, but although I find her with one, all in all, there are 3 children, the elder one and my 2. So the minor one is at primary school. I was paying maintenance. Okay, I am paying maintenance to the minor child, but it was through her mother. Then when her mother passed away, the money was deposited into her account, but since the account was closed, they were not able to to get the money. January, I don't know, because she passed away on January. Then 2 months back, I got, the grandmother phoned me saying that at school, they sent the minor child a letter saying that she's in areas at school. I was like, how is that possible? Because the very same grandmother told me that there were forms that she filled, everything that the minor child wants. Those people, I think they are from Mathye, and they said they will take care of everything. So I was like, how is it possible that the school fee is in areas where there is money for the minor child?
Okay, Kolile, just hold on a little bit. I just want to take a couple of steps back so I can understand this, and I'm looking at time as well. You were paying maintenance, which did it include school fees?
Yes.
Okay, but now when these areas are rising, how are they arising? You were paying school fees when were you not supposed to continue paying school fees? In other words, did you get any instruction from the courts that are saying that you can cease paying maintenance?
No, I didn't get any instruction. What happened is because I was paying to the mother's account, but then after she passed away,
right,
obviously everything freezes.
Right, and now I understand. So it was going via the account, not straight to the school.
Yeah.
100%. Okay, now I get it. Okay, so you want to find out how you can sort out the issue your account which was frozen.
So my point is, now that the mother has passed away, the minor child, obviously, I believe that she has something from her mother. That's what I believe, because that's what the grandmother told me, that there is money for the minor child, but I have to, if there is something that I want, I have to apply for it. So if the grandmother passed away, as the surviving parent now, what is it that I must do what is it that I must do for if the grandmother passed away? Because presently she is the one who's looking after the minor child. So if she passed away, what is it that I must do?
All right.
As the surviving parent.
Okay, Kolile, we're gonna give you a call back as well. I think let's take this off air so that we can understand you. I'm just looking at the time now. Thank you so much, Kolile, for calling in. We're gonna call you back, Kolile. We're gonna call you back. All right.
That's it.
All right. Thank you so much. Bye. 6 minutes after 7. We should have wrapped up the show a minute ago. Let me ask for 1.5 minutes extra so that Ms. Strauss can go through the 3 questions, the questions that you've noted that came from Facebook.
First of all, he asked if what happened if the funds is exhausted. Is exactly what it is. The mother claims the funds or the guardian claims the funds for maintenance. And if there are no more funds, then are no more funds for the maintenance of the child. Then he bowled me out with the question of if they need bail for if we will make the payments. They can submit the application. It is in the discretion of the assistant master to look at all the reasons, and it is possible that it can be released if there are reasons to release the funds for bail. And then lastly, is it possible to claim the lump sum? If it is possible if your school fees are, we have school children that is in very expensive schools, and if your school fees are 120,000 rand, and there is only 120,000 rand in the Guardians Fund, then we can release the lump sum for school fees. So it is possible.
So there we go. All right, Mr. Mathye, are we missing anything? Okay, to now and keep on my track. You know, make sure we don't miss anything. All right. Looks like we've gone through everything though, by the looks of it. All right. Thank you so much. That graph is very interesting. That graph is very, very interesting. Have we got it on Instagram? I think we're going to have to look at it on Instagram. So thank you so much for doing that. Really appreciate it. That's my two guests for this evening. That's Mr. Katekani Mathye, Assistant Master at the Office of the Chief Master, as well as Fredelaine Strauss, Deputy Master at the Office of the Chief Master. Thank you so much, guys, for even coming and taking time to be with us this evening.
Thank you very much, Darwin, to the listeners.
Thank you, sir, and good night to the listeners.
All right. Thank you so much to all the radio stations that have taken part on this show this evening. All right. We've got 11 stations taking part in the Western Cape. We've got 3 in, we've got 2 in the Free State. We've got Eastern Cape. We've got about 6 stations there. About 3 stations in the Northern Cape. KwaZulu-Natal, we've got about 3, 6, 9, 12, 15 stations taking part there. Mpumalanga 5, Limpopo, we've got about 10 stations. Gauteng, we've got about 12, 13 stations. Northwest, we've got a whole lot of stations taking part, and we really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much also to the technical guys on the other side of the booth, talking about Tate Linda Mazibugo on sound. Thank you so much, Lynch. Absolutely amazing job that you did there, as well as Usiswetu. Yabona Usisindawon, Umagandawon, you need to show us a bit of respect there. Umagandawon, Zombies, Magandawon, yeah, she says no, cut it. Thank you so much on the phones there. There's no Ntantantawon on the phones. The guys, social media, they're on the other side. I can't see them. Thank you so much for what you've done. We really, really appreciate it. As well as the new intake at GCIS, mainly in the videos that you're going to see on YouTube. And that's Nobu. I had the privilege of traveling with Nobu to the Eastern Cape, and when I spoke about it being cold, she knew exactly what I was talking about. Thank you so much. You did an amazing job as well. From myself, Karabolans, Let's meet again next week, same place, same time. Ciao for now.